Communication, the more you know and the more you can communicate. It's currency. Communication is an organization's currency.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This idea of having a no us versus them and to contribute to that healthy culture. There's an intentionality there that I think can be taken for granted. It's like, oh, we've got some talented people. They're going to go in their office. They're going to do some talented stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to produce some, even on our end at Forum Films, I know I'll come in and I'll go to my office. I've got calls, I've got meetings, I've got stuff to do. And the whole day can go by and you haven't talked, said three sentences to one of your team members, for example. Yeah. It's not easy. And I know for you, you've got all these plates spinning and all these people. How do you maintain that sort of intimate connection, or do you have the open door policy, or like you just drop in? Do you do intentional like lunches, or like how do you maintain that connection? Because it is, I think, really easy to wake up one day and go, gosh, like, hey man, what have you been working on? Like, 'cause it's easy to kind of everyone's plates get full, and then
the larger a team gets,
yes,
the more disconnected or the drift to
the easier it is. It's like the tide is stronger.
Absolutely.
And so how do you resist that pull?
We try to have weekly or at least bi-weekly meetings as a team.
Yep.
And one of the things we picked up in staff meetings we just started doing is every month somebody had a birthday. Mm-hmm. And so we would do this, it's silly, but we'd do a birthday game. And the birthday game was, we'd put, what was your first concert? What was what was the band you grew up loving? What was your first dog and how did it die?
Great. Yeah.
So, but what we would do is we would select three people. Okay. And if we know it's Kim's birthday. Well, Kim wouldn't answer, but people had to guess what all these answers were.
Okay.
So it's like, what was Kim's dog's name? And I would, if I was one of them, I'd say, okay, the dog's name was Felicia. And so
is this like two truths and a lie kind of thing? Or is it just you're guessing right out of the blue?
You're just guessing, but you're being creative and having some fun with it. And some of these answers would just be crazy. And
so you're just finding ways to inject fun into your, the grind, right?
Yes. And just having fun and picking people and just the team. I mean, right now we're 14 people, and just to get to know everybody and have fun and laugh.
You guys hanging out after hours? You going out to restaurants?
Sometimes guys are. Sometimes we are. Sometimes it's family and we're going home. One of the things that I do value is, and this is a part of our culture, is set your time on when you're coming and going. Because I want you to crush it while you're here, and I want you to go home, and I want you to be with your family, and I want you to be with your kids. I want you to be with your wife, or I want you to, we have singles. I want you to go and get away from this place.
Yeah. What feeds into you outside of work is what helps you be better at work, right? So,
and there's seasons where that's like any creative agency, like any creative endeavor, it takes more of you. And when you have a culture of people that just really want to make things right, and for us, we feel like making it right, there's a lot at stake. And just with people that are watching or viewing on the other side, that we're trying to draw closer to their Heavenly Father, that's a win for us. And we think it's worth it. It's still, I want to make sure that we're not draining people, draining creatives, and not getting them to draw closer because we're pulling so much out of them.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. So you got team, you got talent, you're being intentional about the culture. Let's back up a step. How do you make sure that the people on the team are, number one, the right person to be on the team, number two, in the right seat on the team? So, just because, Sarah comes in, she's a great, she says she's great at design.
Yeah.
Maybe she's actually really good at, project management, and you discover that, or maybe she's not I don't know. You've heard this idea of like you want to hire humble, hungry, and smart.
Aptitude and attitude.
Oh, there we go. I knew that. See, I know there's some.
I think as a creative leader, when you know what is somebody's aptitude, where are they at in their skill set? What is their attitude? One of the questions I ask in an interview is, hey, did you play team sports? Of course, that's going to come from me.
That just opens up a whole treasure trove of metaphors and examples.
I just know that when people have worked with a team, it's not about them.
Or are you an only child?
But when you work as a team, it's really easy for us as creatives to be a little bit narcissistic. Like, hey, I want this creative thing to be
we get precious about our work, right? And
it's emotional. Right? We get connected to it.
Gosh, stop putting your identity in your work, people.
No, but it's hard. It's hard. It's hard not to.
You have to. You're pouring something that is didn't exist before.
Right.
I'm pouring into this cup what wasn't there before, and now it's like my cup, and it's like my material in it, and I'm showing it to you, and you're going, it's supposed to be soda, not water, or whatever. And you're like, oh, but I made the.
And and any creative is trying to solve a creative problem.
Yes.
Here's the problem we have. We need this, and it needs to communicate this. And they're trying their best to.
It's like the subjective thing journeying towards what doesn't exist, and we're all kind of firing our best arrows at what we think is going to be the outcome. What you're saying reminds me of something that I learned at SCAD years ago, and that is just, there's this idea of perception versus reality. And a lot of times, perception wins, right? So just because, like you said, you and two other people notice something, that's reality. Yeah, maybe there is that thing there that you want to do something about, but perception is never going to catch it. Like you can cheat that all day long. No. And that's true of, Hollywood does it all the time, we were just watching something the other day, like with Ghostbusters and the making of that film. They want to show the shot, but you can't show it any longer than this amount of time, like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, because the audience is going to know, and you can cheat this or cheat that and get by and make something incredible. Yeah. Just really, again, just addressing the perception versus what the reality of, I just got to have it because there's,
Right.
So.
Yeah, Bill Willits, who works at North Point Ministries, he's just a great mentor. And he talked about this tension, and he said, drive for excellence until you start seeing a withdrawal of your people. And I'm a product guy first, and when it comes to product and people, and that's a tension I'm constantly managing. And I think that comes a little bit from the football, background of, we got to win.
Right.
We have to win this game. As a team, collectively, we're going to win. So I can easily get into the product needs this.
Yeah,
we
really
need to
drive
do this,
it.
and really
drive forward, yeah.
At the same time, we have to value our people. We have to value those that are working with us and for us and want to see it get right. And it's easy to make those withdrawals. And if you make one withdrawal, 2 withdrawals, that's one thing. But when your projects are leaning into a 3, 4, 5 withdrawals on maybe even the same project sometimes, maybe it's 3 consecutive projects, that's where you have to look at your systems.
When you say withdrawals, you don't literally mean people with like quitting, or you just mean like somebody's suddenly not speaking up.
No,
they're not
what I'm saying
chipping
is
in where they should, or
you're at 98% and you keep pushing for 99, 100, 99, 100, 99. No, it's got to get to here.
But the withdrawal, it means when the team starts to disengage, right?
Yeah, I think it's disengaged.
But what that looks like is
they're not in tune with you, and they're borderline done with the project, and what we're doing, what we're additive to it, what we're trying to push for excellence almost becomes a little bit opulence, where it is start to become more than just the project and our mission. It just becomes about a little bit of the individual and a little bit more of that self-ego of, it has to be this. And I've been there. I've been there a lot in the pursuit of excellence. It starts to become about you as a leader and pushing and leading things through to a place that's unhealthy.
So this goes into something that I wanted to make sure we talked about, is that you have this unique perspective as somebody who's been the creative at different times, but also, of course, the leading the creatives. And so could you talk a little bit about any advice you would have? Hey, if you're one of those creatives on a team and you are contributing, what's Jimmy Johnson. I was like, what's the guy's name? Jimmy Johnson's talking to you, and you've got to step up and perform, or you've got to make sure you hit your mark or whatever. Like, what advice would you have if you're that person? And what would you say to, hey, if you're leading the team, if you're the coach, if you're guiding the team forward, what mindset or what things do you need to be careful of or aware of Any tips from those two perspectives?
Yeah, I think for creative leaders, have clarity, have expectations for your team. Set the clarity of this is, for us, we're into the details. The details matter in the technical purity. Details matter in pulling out the emotions, emotional connection. Details matter in visual engaging. But set the expectations of, hey, here's our work hours. Even to that extent, here's our work hours. Here's our attitude. We're going to have open hands. We're going to continue to trust each other. As a leader, set clarity by setting expectations, and obviously the roles that they're in. What's their role? Are they jumping out from project to project? What's their specific role?
Yep.
In the world of church, I'll say this: in cinema, everybody's got a role. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got. I am the best boy. I am the director.
This is my sandbox.
This is I play. And creatives today, church
Even
or small business,
in a lot of ways, yeah.
You are playing in so many different sandboxes, and there are lots of opportunities to fill in the gap.
Yeah,
and that's attention to manage and going. Am I going to fill in this gap that I see needs to be filled, or am I going to stay in my lane? And sometimes staying in the lane is the best thing to do. And then sometimes evolving and going, I need to fill this gap, or I see a need, I'm going to fill that. But then evaluating that to go, oh, how much is it compromising the lane that I'm in? Mm-hmm. I think it's just communication, ultimately. Communicating, I'm going to jump into this role, communicating, hey, I see a gap. Should I fill that? Should somebody else fill that? As leaders, communication, the more you know and the more you can communicate, it's currency. Communication is an organization's currency. And the more you do that across the spectrum of your people, of leaders, the more you can communicate and communicate that I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know the direction for this series. I don't know yet, but I've got a name, and let's create some stuff. That goes back
to that open-handedness, right? Being vulnerable, and yeah.
I think as somebody that's coming in, I think say you're not at the creative leadership or you're not leading creatives, but you are a part of a team. Continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to learn. And at the same time, come in with open hands and understanding the culture, understanding how your unique giftedness fits in to the organizational brand and your team's culture. I think that's so important. I think understanding the organization's brand is a really big thing that we haven't really talked about, but understanding, hey, this works for us. Here's why it works for us. Here's what doesn't work for us. Here's why. Those are important pieces to understand before I come in and go, well, this is the way I create. This is what I do. And this is how I do it. The leaders, whether they've been there a long time or not, they're put in a position to help guide and shape that, to help you be successful in what the organization's doing. Because we've had tons of people that go, hey, I want to create great stories. I want to create a film.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not going to create a film here. We're just not. Mm-hmm. But I want to create and I want to shoot and I want to do things like I'm doing cinema or a film. And there's pieces of that we can apply. Mm-hmm. But right now we are in short story. We're in sometimes promotion. We're in ads. We're in so many different things that doesn't hit that that piece of you that you so badly want to create. And that could be a tension. It may not be the right fit for the organization.
Do you guys do, you hear organizations that will do KPIs, or key performance indicators and things to keep their team on track. Is it good? Would you recommend that the team member themselves kind of keep, have their own sort of mile markers for themselves, like they kind of know themselves to lead themselves in that manner? And I would imagine that would be helpful. Don't just look to your boss or your, creative director or whomever to tell you what the expectation is, but also apply expectations within the understanding for yourself to kind of drive yourself forward. I would assume that would be a really valuable habit to have for
in our one-on-ones,
self-starters kind of.
Yes. In our one-on-ones, one of the first questions we ask is, what do you want to be doing in a year?
There you go.
What do you want to be doing in 2 years? What do you want to be doing in 3 or 5 years? Mm-hmm. And I am fine if somebody's going to come and work for our organization and go, you know what? Hey, I would love for people to commit to 3 years. And for 3 years, I want you to work on a bunch of different projects. get experience in a bunch of different things. I'd love to have you for 3. I hope it's the best job you ever have, and I know I'm not going to have you forever, but I want it to be the best place, and I want to be a great steward of your talent and allow you to grow and and it's going to be hard. There's going to be some stuff that gets messy.
Yep.
But for somebody to be able to come in and for us to have a conversation on a one-on-one to go, okay, what do you want to do in a year? You want to work more? I've really had fun on this project. I'd love to write more. Okay, we got to make sure we find opportunities for you to write more. While we're finding those opportunities, we still need you doing this. We need you doing the bread and butter editing. We need you to, get behind the camera. But man, if you want to write more, first of all, write. Just keep writing. I mean, there's a self-discipline there, and I think it's a mistake for any creative to come into an organization and put the expectation on the organization to serve their creative needs.
That's huge.
That is something that, as a creative, I need to be doing on my own, and that self-discipline of just getting better at it for the benefit of the organization that I'm working for, and just for the benefit of me.